Hello, everyone. My name is Neville Smith. I'm the Director of Education at Eve University, and thank you very much for joining this special Q&A session with one of Eve Online's most interesting personalities and celebrities, Sindel Pellion. Sindel, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, every once in a while we like to do a session like this with well-known people and personalities in Eve Online. And for those of you who aren't familiar with these kinds of interviews, if you go on the Eve University Wiki, look under our recorded class library, and under special, you'll see a whole series of these. So we will be posting this to that collection later on so you can listen to it and share it with your friends. Sindel, thank you so much for joining. We very much appreciate it. Let me ask a few starter questions, and then we'll turn this over to our audience. For those of you who are listening in, if you can join the lecture.e-uni chat channel, that's lecture.e-uni. If you have any questions for Sin, go ahead and type them in that channel, and we'll attend to them here in the next hour or so. But Sin, let's start first. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in Eve, and what was it that attracted you to the game?
Well, sadly, it was a boy. When I first started dating my husband, we both played video games, since for as long as we can remember, and I played one MMO and he played another one, and we started talking about them, and I started playing Eve because I think they're deep down, subconsciously, he really loathes me, which is why he wanted me to get into this game. Because he knew that I would get addicted to it, and I did, and it's the first real MMO that I've ever played. And I love the complexity of it. I love the beauty of it. And I love that there's so many different people that you can meet and interact with every single day. And it's always a different experience. It's been 3 years now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Many different people that you can hot drop.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never hot dropped anyone.
So
ever.
3 years in the game, and you're currently flying with Sniggerly, is that correct?
I am.
How did you join that alliance, or that group, that corp, and why that particular one?
Well, I was flying with Nork.dot. They were a corp in Test Alliance, and if you will recall, at the end of 2012, Test started to take a nosedive, and we saw that it was going nowhere very fast. And we were concerned because our leader, Richter Honduras, was not getting along with the leadership of the Alliance. So he decided to pull us, which he did, and started to shop us around to look for a home for us in another alliance. And Pandemic Legion wanted to take the majority of the Nork.dot members and roll them into Sniggerly instead of letting them be their own separate entity. So we did. It seemed like the most secure and most fun place for us to be after we left Test. So that is where we went, and that is how we got there, and I have no plans on leaving because it's very fun in PL.
And what regions are you currently flying in mostly? I know PL is up in the northeast mostly, but where in New Eden are you flying these days?
We are currently in Curse, and I don't know how long we're going to stay here. But I am spinning a ship in BPK right now.
I wanted to ask you first about all the various things that you've been involved in, and you mentioned, you started earlier, that it's the community that you find fascinating. You seem to be one of those kinds of players who are an enabler or a connector in the community. Do you see yourself that way, as someone that brings people in EVE Online together? Are you doing that consciously, or is that just your natural style?
That was never my intention. It is pretty much just my personality, though. I don't necessarily try to bring people together. I just try to make people happy. My husband, Baggy High, likes to refer to me as the Pinkie Pie of EVE Online. And I guess when you make people happy, you make them want to communicate and associate with each other, which is apparently what I'm doing. So go me.
I find that amusing. Pinkie Pie of EVE Online. Everyone knows that Twilight, of course, is the best pony, but we won't talk about MLP here.
Oh, yes, fighting words, my friend. Y'all might need a new director of education here soon, because someone's getting hot dropped.
Excellent. You're very well known for a project that you started primarily for new players, and of course, EVE University is made up primarily of new players, so I want to focus a little time on this. Tell us about the Angel Project. How did you get it started? What is it all about? And how do you think it's going so far?
Well, like I said before, I flew with Test for a year, and if your new players are not familiar with how Test used to be, there were a lot of, and this is the same with any larger alliance or probably any group of people that you meet at EVE Online, there are some very shady people. They aren't nice. They take other people's stuff, and they scam people, and then they brag about it, which is fine. I have no problem with people pursuing different hobbies in EVE, but there's a whole thread on the Test forum of people bragging about heists that they did, and then the tiers that they got in the form of EVE mails. They would post those, and I didn't want to be known for just that, and that's what I was getting known for, was, oh, you fly with Test, you must be an ass. So, sorry, am I allowed to say ass?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, so sorry. I felt guilty. I wasn't even the one doing it. I felt guilty. I didn't want to be a part of something that was just all bad. So I remembered when I started, I was gifted with 50 million ISK, and it helped me be able to go and explore the game better without fear of dying. Because that's, I think, the biggest hang-up with new players is that you earn ISK so slowly when you're first starting out that losing a ship is a big deal, and a lot of players are afraid to engage in any sort of combat. Lose that ship, it's going to take a long time to replace it. And I didn't have that problem because I had the cushion. So I was, when I went out and accidentally jumped into low sec and lost my dual tanked Punisher, I wasn't devastated. So I decided to do something about that to help new players and to try to ease my conscience about being grouped with people who weren't the nicest in EVE. And as for how it's going slowly, actually. We kind of hit a bit of a bump, and I'm still donating to larger groups like RVB and Brave Newbies. They get, regular shipments of hulls and stuff, but I haven't gotten a lot of single players coming and asking for stuff. So if anybody needs anything, I'm your girl.
What kind of things or what kind of support do you provide to new players through the Angel Project? Just a quick summary for those who aren't familiar with that program.
I provide ISK in smaller amounts, 50 million ISK. Cash is like the most I will give you. I provide skill books and ships, implants if you need them, anything that you need. I get a lot of random donations all over the universe from of all kinds. So if somebody is like, I want to set up a PI, but I need, this and this and this. Oh, I have that. So it pretty much, it's case dependent what they need and what they're asking for and whether or not I have it. I try not to give away big, flashy, expensive things unless it's a promotion or something. But if somebody comes to me and they say, I just got ganked, here's my kill mail, I lost my Abaddon, and somebody had just donated an Abaddon, then I don't see a problem with just giving them it. It's better than it just sitting in my hangar and collecting dust.
And how many players do you think you've helped through the Angel Project?
Not including big new player-friendly groups? I don't know. I am not sure, but I am sure it ranges in the high hundreds. Probably, I've given away, I think, about 10 billion ISK cash, and then thousands and thousands of hulls I have given away to people to be destroyed. But I don't know exactly how many people.
Have you ever suspected that anyone has tried to take advantage of your generosity and scam you in the Angel Project?
Absolutely. It wouldn't be EVE Online if everybody were honest. I have probably 3 or 4 times. And that's pretty few, considering that the project's been around for 2 years. Probably 3 or 4 times I've noticed that something just doesn't seem right, or that somebody is being particularly greedy.
Do you think that EVE Online in general is not friendly enough to new players? And if so, what would you do to change it?
I definitely don't think that new players have an easy time getting adjusted. If you come from, WoW, or trying to think of, I just blanked on other MMOs and other games where you play. There we go. Thank you. It's not the kind of environment that you will thrive in. You need to come from a game that is as calculating and diabolical, or as specific. The MMO that I was talking about that I traded with my husband when we started dating is nothing at all like EVE in appearances, but I did have spreadsheets, I did set alarm clocks for ops, and it was all very political, so I was able to get into this environment and thrive in it. But that's not the case with a lot of other people. I think that earning ISK takes too long. I think that there's not enough warning in your tutorials about what other players will do. It tells you, fly into this compound and, blow up your ship. And it's okay, you can blow up your ship, ships get blown up, and NPCs won't shoot you, and you can go back into the station and here's your money. Congratulations, have a skill book. But that doesn't prepare you for what it actually feels like the first time you watch other people take your stuff and make it explode. And I don't really know what they can do other than maybe, give the new players a grace period. This is how it works. And the other MMO that I played was called Travian, and when you first started the game, you had X amount of time in beginner's protection where you could go out and explore the game. You had, maybe 7 days. If you engaged in combat with another player, though, and it was your choice, your beginner's protection ended. So maybe something like that. You're given this amount of time to go out and see things, and nobody can hurt you unless you decide to see what it's like to play the villain, and then all bets are off.
That kind of flies in the face of a lot of players' attitude that EVE is supposed to be kind of this brutal sandbox. Do you find that your affection for new players and the support that you give them through things like the Angel Project, have you ever gotten any flack about that from experienced players?
No, surprisingly, I haven't. EVE is supposed to be a sandbox. No one ever said it's supposed to be a brutal sandbox. That's just what we've taken it and made it become. But a lot of the veteran players, I get a lot of, I wish there was someone like you when I started. I get a lot of, thank you for giving them something for me to blow up. And a lot of, it takes a special kind of person to try to help people in a completely hopeless situation.
We have a couple questions here from the audience. And once again, folks, if you want to ask Sim a question, just go ahead and type it in the lecture.e-uni chat channel. If you could preface it with a Q colon so I can pick out the questions from the general chatter, that'd be helpful. Got a question here from Nian, which is, do you feel that there is a difference between younger players and older players as far as how they react to their, to being killed, basically?
I don't really think that it depends on, the age of the player so much as the mindset of the player. Bag, when this isn't his first MMO, so when he joined EVE many, many years ago and he flew around and he got killed, he was used to playing with other people. And, he lost his ship and he's like, okay, no big deal. I'll just go work hard, get another ship and go out and try this again. I lost my first ship and I was in tears under my desk, log in for 4 days because I wasn't used to that.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
It's not funny. That's not funny. You're mean.
Well, what I mean is that, some people do have a very emotional attachment to their ship. They are their ship in EVE Online, right? So at least the game gives you that kind of impression. So if you lose your ship and you react emotionally to it, I can understand where you're coming from. It seems that the lesson in the tutorial that you're trying to, that you talked about earlier, is about that you are not your ship. But do you find that younger players tend to confuse those two? If they lose a ship, that they get too emotionally wrapped around it and have to be counseled a bit?
I don't know if it's so much. I can see that some people get emotionally attached. When I got my first Dramiel, I loved it so much that I carved it into my jack-o'-lantern that year, and I still have the first Dramiel that I ever owned. It's been 3 years and it hasn't exploded yet. No, I will not let you explode it. But for other people, it's just the hopelessness of you fly the ship that you get these mods for, and they're not very good, but they're the best that you have for the money that you have, and you're flying this ship. And then you make one mistake, or somebody decides to not be nice that day, and you lose the ship, and it's, what am I going to do now? I obviously didn't have the what are you going to do now mentality, because again, I had that cushion, but I was still, I get attached to everything.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of those attachments that you have for the community. You're also a blogger. You're known for your prolific tweeting, especially to the Tweet Fleet hashtag community. How did you discover the community and begin to interact with them and build that kind of connection to the players in the game?
Who keeps linking pictures of Zeneria on Mumble?
I don't know.
He's looking. I feel like he's looking at me and he's judging me. But no, stop. Sorry, I apologize. This always goes back to my husband. He was a writer for Eve News 24 back before it started getting tabloidy, because he tried very hard to keep it almost professional-ish, as professional as you can get when you're working with Riverini. And people knew who he was, and he had a lot of opinions, and he wrote really good stuff, and I would read it, and after I'd read that, I'd see people commenting on it, and I'd be like, oh, who is this? And I'd click on and see who they were, and it would link to their blog, and I'd go read that, and I'm like, people actually spend time doing this. He's like, oh, yeah, this is like a whole second life to some people. They devote hours and hours and hours to their blogs and to this and that and their websites and their guide. And I was blown away because I've never seen anything like that before, ever. So I started paying more attention to it, and it was about the time that I had finally left HiSec and joined Bag and his corp, and we were in Rage, and then Rage fell cascaded right before I joined. And then I joined, and we joined Imperial Order. And that was when a puppet master came in one day and just flipped a station, gave it away, and we were all out. And I was so mad and had so many mean thoughts flying through my head that I'm like, I understand now why people devote so much time to this, because it had finally affected me in a way that I wanted to get involved and let people know that I had opinions that were very large. And so I started a blog, and I created a Twitter account, and I never looked back.
You get a lot of feedback on the blog and Twitter tweets, etc. So, people definitely are not afraid to dialogue with you, and you also don't seem to be afraid to share your opinion, which is not a bad thing. But do you ever get any flack or pushback or arguments? Have you ever had anybody who's been reacted negatively to your desire to share on those kinds of social media?
You're always going to get somebody who disagrees and somebody who thinks that you should shut the hell up. I used to get it more when I first started, and it was usually shut up, you're a girl, get back in the kitchen making a sandwich kind of stuff. But now I think that people are almost they're not scared to be mean to me. They just don't think that they should be, because I think I've proven, without even trying to, that I am ridiculously nice. So, and I get a lot of protection when people start, speaking up or saying things or being a poetic on Twitter. I get a lot of people defending me. I'm talking about poetic Stanziel, in case anyone's wondering.
Yes, he who must be not named is what we call him here.
Fear of a name greatly increases fear of the thing itself.
Excellent. Good quote. Very nice. Kudos for that. You did mention that people have tried to put you down because of you're female, obviously. And CCP has said that women represent about 3% of the player population in EVE Online. Do you think that's a problem? Should CCP market more aggressively to women players, or do you think it just seeks its own level and that's okay?
I don't think that they can market to women any more than they already have. And it's nothing really against the game, but it's, like you said, it's a brutal sandbox, and most women don't want to go into a game where they're dealing with brutality of any kind, verbal insults or nasty porn links or people just, doing what they do in EVE. It takes a very special kind of person, not just woman, very special kind of person to enjoy this game. But it definitely takes a special kind of woman to enjoy it. And I believe at last count, FanFest 2 years ago, they said that 4% were women on the accounts, but because some, underage young men will use their mom's credit card or something to set up the account, they believe it's more 2% of the player base. Don't quote me on that, but that's what they said in the ladies' roundtable.
It does seem, though, that the female gamers in EVE Online try to support each other. In fact, we have a couple of groups within EVE University of women that get together for fleets and so forth. But do you find that other women tend to try to support each other as a group inside EVE Online? Are you familiar with any groups or a part of any groups like that?
I am. I am a part of the Women Gamers of EVE. We have a chat channel and a TeamSpeak and a forum, and we it's not so much that we're like grr, boys, evil, icky. We have this channel so that there is a place that we can go to talk about things that we talk about in local or in our corp chat or in alliance chat. And they are very, very supportive because they get it. If you don't know what it is, then, you're probably a dude.
Yeah, probably right. Good point. Let's talk about something you're very, very well known for, and that is your music, and specifically music as it relates to EVE Online. What inspired you to start doing that, and have you been surprised at the reaction from the EVE community to your music?
It was an accident. I didn't mean to. See, I've always changed the lyrics to songs to make them funny for as long as I can remember. My sister and I used to do it when I was 5, and our Barbies they were a band called Blue Heaven, and we made them sing songs, and we changed the words to be about how we didn't like our mom, and it was fun. But I went to college and I got a degree to be a writer because I felt like being poor for the rest of my life, and they kind of just all culminated in me sitting, waiting to join a fleet, listening to Maroon 5 because Adam Levine is hot, and the words just started rolling around in my head. So I recorded it, and I didn't think that it was a big deal because I recorded it for me, and my husband said, you need to publish that somewhere because it's pretty funny. So I put it up on SoundCloud, and I got 5,000 listens in 24 hours, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then it just kind of blew up. After Macaulay Cries got uploaded, I don't think that I'm allowed to stop now. And I am very surprised that people like it as much as they do, because honestly, I don't think I'm that great of a singer. I would really like it if I could find a great singer and I could write words for them. If anybody's interested, hit me up.
I think the last thing you posted was it Dumb Ways to Die, the parody, or have you had something more recently?
I have not. And I will tell you why. Because when I first started, it was just for fun, and I didn't really care because I was doing it more to entertain myself. But the longer this goes on, the more I feel like it needs to sound professional. So I get hung up, and it's kind of bottlenecked, so that I have all of these songs that are half recorded and that could be done within a matter of hours if I just sat down, but I don't want to make people upset by them not being great. Actually, no, you know what? I Will Survive was the last song that I put up. Totally forgot about that one.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that one too. Do you ever...
Obviously not very memorable.
Sorry. Well, not as popular as Dumb Ways to Die, certainly, but, still a good tune. Do you ever perform publicly?
Negatory, good buddy.
I'm sure you get... I know you've come to FanFest several times. In fact, I'm going to my third FanFest coming up here soon, and I know I've seen you there. Do you ever get any requests to perform music at FanFest or other Eve-related events?
People say things that are like off the cuff, and we don't take them seriously. Like on Twitter, they'll be like, "There needs to be a Eve parody concert at FanFest," and have Suez and Sindel and all the other people, Cyril and David K. Magnus, all come up and sing. But we don't really take that to mean anything. We're obviously flattered. I know I am that someone would actually want to hear me do it. But other than that, no one's really requested that I sing in-game. Funny story, though. I was sitting in the lobby waiting to play Titanfall a couple weeks ago, and some person I'd never seen before was on the opposite team, and I hear over the voice comms, "Sindel, sing me a song." Like, who are you? This isn't even Eve. But I was amused.
Clearly, your reputation crosses, those kinds of borders. And I have noticed on Twitter that you have been talking about Titanfall. Do you play a lot of other games?
No, I don't play a lot of other games. I play that one, and I play Eve, and sometimes I play Banished when I feel like watching a bunch of silly villagers die of starvation because they don't know to go inside and get food. But I don't. I used to play a lot more, but I'm finding that the ones that I've been choosing to play as of late take up far too much time, especially this one.
I also noticed that you're hosting an event at FanFest, the Not a Charity event. Again, another example of bringing a community together. Tell us about that and how that got started.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I was reading in the channel.
No problem. I was talking about the Not a Charity event that you're...
Oh, that thing.
FanFest, yeah. This is not the first year you've done that. You've done that at prior FanFests.
I started last year.
Tell us what made you decide to do that, and again, another opportunity to bring people together that otherwise wouldn't get together.
Well, see, FanFest is expensive. Anybody who's gone can tell you that you either have to have large amounts of disposable income or you have to plan accordingly to be able to go. So my husband and I, we bought our plane tickets and got our hotel, but when it came to the actual tickets to the events, we had to buy them separately over the course of time. We were going to buy, obviously, our admission tickets. We were going to go to the charity dinner because we had gone the year prior and had a lot of fun. And I think there were a couple other things that we were looking at, but we weren't sure if we wanted to do again. And the charity dinner sold out in, I think, like 3 days. That the tickets were completely gone. And we were okay with that because the year before they had sold a chunk of tickets. They sold out. They waited a couple of weeks and then they released more. So we're like, well, just wait a couple of weeks and they'll release more and everything will be okay and we'll get to go to our dinner. Well, a couple of weeks passed and no more tickets were released. So we realized that we weren't going to get to go. And there were a lot of people who were going to FanFest that we interact with on Twitter who wanted to go do this and weren't able to. So I'm like, screw it, I'll just throw my own dinner. So I did. And 40 people came, and it was a lot of fun planning it, and we had a lot of fun, and it was amazing food and really great company. So I decided this year that since it was such a success and it's a pretty decent low-cost alternative, that I was going to do it again.
And what kind of reaction have you gotten?
I believe we have 21 people on the list this year. But a lot of the people, there's a lot less people, it seems, that are going this year.
You think FanFest will be less popular this year?
Well, they pushed it back, and when we were checking out of our hotel last year, the hotel manager was an amazing guy that I got to know over the course of the week, and he asked if we were coming back next year, and we told him when it was, and he said that's not good because May 1st is when summer tariffs start, so the price of everything increases a lot. So if you come back and you stay here, make sure that you remember yourself to me so that I can give you a discount on your room. And as we started, looking ahead to this year's FanFest and we're shopping online and checking prices of things, sure enough, things were more expensive than they were before.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. It did seem accommodations were about 10-20% higher this year.
And we were warned that. And when I see the amount of people who aren't coming, I think it's more of a price thing that a lot of people, they've already been. Maybe they didn't want to repeat another year, or maybe they just didn't want to spend the extra 10, 20, 50% on things.
What are your favorite things about, or favorite things to do in EVE Online, and what are your least favorite things to do in EVE Online?
I hate pause shoots so much. This is something, if you ever decide to leave uni and go to a nullsec alliance and a big, huge block of something or other, I'm not even going to say what it is, they will make you shoot structures, and they will lie, and they will tell you that you're going to do something, and then they're like, oh, I guess that fight didn't happen. Everybody shoot that tower. Hate it. And as long as you're in a fleet where people actually talk and tell jokes and interact, it's not so bad, but there have been times where it's closed comms, we're not allowed to talk, and 3 hours of just shooting stuff. When I was in test, I think they took out a frigate fleet, and the fight didn't happen, so they just had us grind, which was miserable.
And a bunch of frigates with low DPS.
Yes, and a bunch of frigates. It took forever. I was about to just let them shoot me and pod myself home.
Oh, that sounds sad. Skira asks, I'm a noob player. You seem to be very noob-friendly, but your alliance appears to be, well, he says very elitist. Tell me how my impression might be wrong.
Your impression is not wrong. There is a reason why I started the charity under a different tune and did not just run it straight from Sindel. And a big part of that is because I was originally in test, and now I'm in Pandemic Legion, and the amount of people who would trust that I would keep my word if I ran it straight from my main character, it didn't seem to me like they would be very high, and I didn't want anybody to ever say that I was choosing sides or skimming money or being dishonest in any way. So I started a different character. And when I'm on Sindel doesn't have a problem with undocking and shooting you in the face. That's just what she's supposed to do. But when I'm on Angel, I am allowed to nurture my warm, fuzzy side, which is what I do. I don't think that alliances should be... Well, I don't want to say that I don't think they should be elite, because you're going to find that anywhere you go, not just in games. You're going to find that in life, that there are some groups and societies and people that just prefer the company of some people over others. It's not right. It's just how it is. But I don't necessarily feel that it should be that way all the time, and I don't feel that people should be excluded all the time just because of the length of time they've been playing something or doing something or because of who they are. So having the two different accounts and the two different characters lets me be mean when I need to be mean, and be soft and squishy and huggable when I want to be that. Yes, that's the character.
You mentioned your least favorite thing to do, but I don't think you mentioned your more favorite things to do in EVE Online.
I did not.
Yeah, tell us about those.
I love exploration. You will not find me being happy or doing anything else in this game. Yes, I said squishy and huggable, because that's what I am. Besides exploration, I used to do it in a cheetah until I realized just how fragile cheetahs are when you decide that you want to go into a wormhole and see what's in there. I recently did a search for the only named planet in wormhole space, and I did it at Tengu, which is much more sturdy. But I love, again, like I said at the very beginning, EVE is stunningly beautiful. This game is amazing. So I fly around and I take pictures of stuff. I don't even have to go probe down a complex and shoot things and make money to feel like the journey was justified. I just love being able to pinpoint things and warp to them and see what they are, because the exploration and probing is not something that a lot of people enjoy doing, which is sad. Well, yeah, of course T3s are greater than COVOPs, but COVOPs warp faster.
You've mentioned being in different kinds of space here. Do you have a preference for different kinds of space in EVE Online and the different lifestyles that they tend to represent? High sec, low sec, null sec, W space. Which of those do you prefer to fly in?
Well, I'm so used to flying in null sec that honestly, when I'm on Sindel, if I'm in low sec or Empire, like a high sec, if I'm anywhere in Empire space, I feel a little disoriented. And, you are flying around in null sec for 2 years, and then you jump into low sec and you see 30 newts as soon as you jump in the gate, and you freak out. And then you remember that they're not going to shoot you, because that's not how it works out here. But I love the lawlessness and the fact that, null sec doesn't really have any rules, and you can just fly around and you can be a barbarian. But on the flip side, sometimes you want to just talk to people. I love the Angel Project lives in Amar, and Amar Local is one of the most rich EVE Online cultures that you will ever encounter. And I liked that I can undock and fly around and nobody shoots me. That's pretty neat.
As opposed to Cheetah Local, which is just a hive of scum and villainy.
Yes, but I try not to bad talk my neighbors, because what if they come to Amar and destroy my neighborhood?
We had a comment earlier from someone in chat about the CSM, and you are one of the more visible and well-known players in the game. Have you ever considered running for the Council of Stellar Management?
Yes and no. I have a lot of ideas on how I can improve the game, but as far as the technical side of the game, I have no idea how game mechanics work. I haven't really tried to learn much beyond this should fit on my ship and this is why. People talk about, ship balancing, and you read all these notes and stuff, and I'm most of it flies straight over my head. I have no idea what half the stuff they're talking about is. And I think that, when somebody says nullsec is broken, I can understand why they're saying that. But when they start talking about ways to fix other areas of the game, I know that there are experts from each part of space that are there for that, but I don't feel like that I can contribute anything of value to any conversation like that. So it seems like it would be a waste of space for me to be there.
Do you think the CSM represents the different player interests well, or as a body, or do you not care?
I care to an extent. It's awful saying that I don't, but I think that it's better now than it used to. And I don't know if it's because there's been some kind of shift in power in the CSM, or that they are more willing to talk to each other. But I think that I am especially impressed with this last CSM and the level communication that we're getting from them. It's been wonderful interacting with them, and they've been very informative, but I don't know how well they're representing their individual parts of space. Because again, I don't know what they're trying to represent. I've spent 3 weeks in faction warfare. I fly through low-sec to get to where I need to go. And the most I do in high-sec is buy and sell things and give them to other people. So, again, I claim ignorance, which is usually what I do.
Yeah, fair enough. Nian asks, how many characters do you maintain in the game?
I have 3. Well, okay, technically I have 4, but the 4th one I don't count because she is just a G to alt. All I do is log in, check prices, and buy things if I have to, and then I just give the stuff to whatever character needs it. But I have Sindel, she's my main. I have the Angel Project, she's my charity. And then I have Kai, and she's the one that I use to do all of my hauling and flying around in places where I don't feel like getting shot because I am Sindel or the Angel Project.
You mentioned that you're also, EVE Online is a bit of a family affair for you. Your husband plays, and you frequently mentioned your family in Twitter as well. So do you think that this is do you meet other people in EVE Online or also with that kind of family background? I don't see very much of that. Is that something that you think is unusual, or is something that is more common than people might think?
I think it is definitely more common than people think. If you've never, or you rarely encounter it, then I want to be where you are, because 90% of the time, any conversation that I have with anybody about any video game turns to our children, or what we're having for dinner, or mowing the lawn. It blows my mind how many family people, grown-ups, not, teenagers or people who are still in college, but like grown men and women with careers and mortgages and families play this game. It blows my mind. And I think that they do it because it is a release. It's like Second Life, but without the nastiness.
That's a good point. It's a good way of describing it. I saw your tweet earlier today to Rick Javix. He had mentioned something about taking his 3 kids to get a haircut, and you said, hey, I've just done this, and it's survivable, which is kind of funny. So, but you do have a lot of those kinds of, or provide those kinds of insights into your family life and how that affects your EVE play. Isn't that right?
I don't always do it intentionally. The last thing I want to do is to make my kids the subject of any kind of internet stalking or anything like that. But I have never tried to hide who I am and what I do. And, when I'm not logged into the game, unfortunately, most of my day is consumed with baking things, doing homework, and watching cartoons. And so that's going to bleed into the other things that I do.
That makes sense. Asai asked a question I've been meaning to ask as well. In your Dumb Ways to Die song, you talk about your legs. Can you tell us about the story of your legs?
I'm like the dumbest girl on the internet. I had no idea that I was wearing a Galenti shirt, and I was reading the latest issue of E-UNI. This is when E-UNI was still being published, and I had my legs kicked up on a wall, and I took a picture, and I sent it to my husband so that he could be all proud of my geekness, and then dumb me decided that it would be a good idea to put it on Twitter, and it just kind of snowballed into, wow, Sindel has nice legs. And so I just kept, and then they started calling me Legs. That was my nickname. So I felt the urge to, well, not the urge, I felt obligated to appease them. So every once in a while I would send pictures of my legs doing random things. And there was a young gentleman who apparently developed quite a liking to said legs. And one day said something on Twitter about how he was going to come kill me and scoop my corpse so that he could have my legs with him. Completely tongue-in-cheek. I'm sure that he didn't actually mean it, so I thought. But a couple of days later, we're flying around, and we're in Fountain, and he was in Nully, which was on the complete side of the map, the opposite side of the map, and they spotted a small gang of Nully people flying around Fountain, and they had no idea why they were there. I immediately knew why they were there. And I said something to one of my corp mates, and he got mad and posted this long email about how nobody torments Sindel but us, so we need to go kill these guys. So we flew around and we found them, and I panicked because I wasn't used to any kind of warfare. That was still pretty new. I think this was in September, and I just joined them in nullsec in June, so I had got 2 kills to my name. I had no idea what I was doing. So when we saw what they were flying and how many of them, the rest of my fleet just noped the hell out. They, flew to the gate, jumped through, and I, deer in headlights, start targeting them one at a time in my Vagabond. Wait, Vagabond, yes. In my Vagabond, and I died. And my fleet came back in to try to rescue me, and they just watched me die. But the enemy gang from Nully saw that they were there. They killed me, they potted me, they scooped my corpse, and off they went. They didn't even try to engage the rest of them.
So you think that whole op was purely to collect your corpse, period?
Absolutely. There's no other explanation as for why they would fly out there, have a bunch of easy kills, and not take them. They wanted my legs. And now every time I if I have to pod express somewhere, or if I'm going to die in a fight, I will nudge bag and be like, can you please scoop my corpse after I die?
Well, for those of you who are asking, if you just do a search on Google, I'm sure you can see various pictures. So
if you type in Sindel Pellion in the Google search bar, legs will be the next word to populate. Or Titan. It's one or the other. Depends on the day.
We had a question here from M80 Wolf. What is your favorite ship?
I've been flying around in the Stiletto a lot lately when I'm in fleets. I can fly the doctrines that they're calling for, but Stiletto, after the warp speed changes and stuff, have become giant piles of fun. It's the most fun ship I've flown in a long time, so I'm really liking that right now. As far as, prettiness goes, because I do like pretty things, I'm a bit of a collector. The Dramiel will always be the sexiest ship in the game to me, but I love my signable, and the Macarial is scary. I have 2 Macarials, and I'll get into them and just stare at them because I'm scared to undock.
You mentioned mostly Minmatar or Minmatar derivative ships. Clearly the Galente ship line is the most attractive in the game. Wouldn't you agree?
They are not symmetrical, and that's funny to me. Sindel is a Galente pilot. That is the race that I chose when I started because I believed in their ideals the most when I read through all the descriptions. But everyone said get into a Rifter, and then it didn't make sense to go back into Galente ships because the Rifter was so much neater looking. And yay, freedom! I'm sorry, I'm really digging this chat channel. It's distracting me, though, I have to say. But yes, again, not only are Minmatar ships more fun, projectile weapons are neat because those are some big frickin' bullets, but the ships are symmetrical. And Galente ships are all kind of misshapen, and there's a lump on one side and a point on the other side, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, Breku, Galente forever, man. We're not hung up, Galente pilots, on, little things like symmetricality, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, Sindel, tell us a little bit, if you could, about how often you play EVE Online. You seem to dedicate quite a bit of time to it, but how many hours a week are you actually online? And then also, how many hours a week do you spend in EVE-related activities that aren't necessarily online?
Well, according to Raptor, I average about 22 hours a week in the game. And that's been I just downloaded Raptor about 2 months ago, and it used to be more than that. This is mostly administrative stuff now. The majority of the time that I spend in EVE is spent in the Angel Project doing things. But as far as out-of-game things that I do, I don't even know, because if anybody who's on Twitter, who's in Tweet Fleet, sees that I spend obscene amount of times on Twitter, more time than I as any one normal person should spend on Twitter. But I also, work on my blog and then work on songs. And that video that I recorded yesterday about the Not a Charity Dinner was only a 4-minute video that took 6 hours because I am not good with technology.
That was a pretty funny video, though. Definitely, I'm sure it stimulated a little bit more interest in the event.
I got 2 people. That everyone is important, so it doesn't matter. 2 people or 2 more than I could have hoped for.
We have a lot of new players, as I mentioned, here, because this is EVE University, and you also work with a lot of new players. I mean, what advice would you give new pilots that are just joining the game? What kind of lessons learned that you had to go through in EVE Online would you want to impart to a new player?
One, obviously, be careful who you trust. I'm not going to say trust no one, because I believe that is a falsehood. Case in point, hi, you can trust me. I'm not going to steal your stuff, because I don't want your stuff. I have my own stuff. Thank you very much. I'm a strong, independent woman. Galenti woman. Thank you very much. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help, but be careful of where you ask for help for. If you're going to ask for a good incursus fit in Jita local, you're going to get ganked. But there are resources and tools out there that are very useful. For example, I love EVE University's fitting sites. You guys have helped me so much that I can't even begin to express how much I use your site to fit my ships and to fit donation ships. And above all, don't take it seriously. Have fun. It's a game. Yeah, it's devastating when you lose a ship, but not everybody is evil. So you can go out and fly again, and you might not lose another one, and it's not the end of the world. It's just pixels. So many people take this game so seriously because it's easy to take different parts of it seriously that they forget to have fun in it. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree with that. You are reminding me of something I wanted to ask you earlier, and I forgot, but it's a bit of a serious issue, and that is there's been some publicity recently, of course, with the Erotica 1 incident. Do you think there's a line that you can go too far in EVE Online, and what is that line in your mind?
I honestly have worked very hard to stay out of this discussion with them, because that whole situation was a hot damn mess, and there were so many lines that we could say in normal civilized conversation in society were crossed, and that you can't just hide behind the anonymity of the internet and use that as your defense. But I don't think that anything and any discussion that you're having with anybody, regardless of whether it's in a game or not, should ever become a personal attack. I mean, that conversation towards the end, it got very, very disgusting and very brutal. I'm not going to say that I think that CCP was right in punishing Erotica 1 the way that he was punished by getting the permanent ban. But I'm not going to say that they were wrong either. I believe that when you take it to the level that it was taken, that some kind of punishment needs to be given. But again, once the whole situation left the confines of the game itself and went to a different arena, there was really no way that it should have been policed. But yes, no, I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, because it was very, the whole thing was disturbing to me. What was even more disturbing was a couple of nights later when the two of them were back together in a different channel talking about how they completely trolled everybody. Yeah,
I think that's a good position. we won't dwell on that any further. So thank you for sharing that. A Stupid Genius asks, what do you have the most fun doing? Angel Project stuff, or Sindel's PL stuff, or something else in EVE Online?
Well, nothing is more fun than actually flying your spaceship and using your spaceship for what it's meant to be used for. It's meant to kill things, for the most part, unless you like mining, but then you're still killing rocks, so you can use that argument. But again, nothing is more fun than flying it. Fleets are fun. Combat is exciting. Even when you're in 10% tie-dye and you're frustrated as all get out, and it's been 4 hours and you really have to, and you're stuck in your chair, it can still be thrilling, especially when you see 40 different people target your Archon and you are 90% sure that you die and you don't die. That's quite awesome. But it's more fulfilling to me as a person, not necessarily as an EVE Online player, but as a person, to make someone else's day and to give them stuff that they need to be able to enjoy this game as much as I've been able to. So while it's not as fun to do Angel Project stuff, because all I do is sit in a station with like 2 spreadsheets and a Word document open and write stuff, it definitely makes me feel a lot better than it does to go out and blow up $1 billion worth of ships in one go.
Excellent. A couple of final questions. Very important to get an idea of what kind of person you are. First one is, what do you prefer most, robots, pirates, or ninjas?
Ninjas.
We have to ask why. Why ninjas?
Well, there could be one behind me right now, so if I don't say ninjas, he's probably going to kill me.
Very good. Second question, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
And why?
Because Jean-Luc Picard and James T. Kirk. I'm sorry, you can have all of the glorified laser pointer swords in the world, and you're still not as awesome as James T. Kirk. I don't care which iteration that you're looking at. Chris Pine, William Shatner, it doesn't matter. They're both equally attractive and amazing to watch.
Very good. All right. Final question for you, and that is there something unique about you that people don't know about that you would be willing to share with us?
I guarantee you that pretty much everything about me, one person or another in this game knows, because I'm friends with a lot of people outside of the game, and when people ask questions like this, I don't try to hide anything from them. And as you see, like from the video yesterday, one thing that a lot of people didn't know is that I am obsessed with books and I love to read, and now everybody knows that. I like making stuff. So when somebody tells me to go make them a sandwich, I'm 90% tempted to go trace their IP, run to their house, and bring them a damn sandwich, just to shut them up.
Scary.
Laced with something, of course.
We talked about this. Women who play Eve are scary and special, so I will scare you, and then I will hand you the best damn sandwich you've ever eaten in your life.
Well, Sindel, this has been a real pleasure. Any final words of advice for people who might be listening to this in the future? Anything that you think might be useful to them as they begin their career in EVE Online?
Take advantage of the resources that you have. I've never been a member of EVE University, but I have listened to a lot of people talk. I have, participated in some discussions with them. I use the heck out of your forum and your EVE, your fitting pages and stuff. You have an amazing set of resources available to you in them. Use them. If you don't, or you don't want to, then take advantage of the other resources that are available anywhere else in the game. If you don't want to just use these, there are a lot of really knowledgeable people who know a lot of things about the game that can not necessarily make it easier for you. Like, for example, the guy who is making all of the money the ISK on the market from doing all of the trading and stuff and then documenting it on his blog. I tried reading his guide, and I have no idea what he's saying. So even though I learned a lot, it's not necessarily going to work for me because it just looks too hard. But there are people like that out there who can teach you things that you need to know. Don't be afraid to look for them. Don't be afraid to ask for them. And don't be afraid to try and fail, because you probably, on most of the things that you try to do, and if you'll fail, and you'll fail hard. But don't get discouraged, because it's just a game. Pick something else and try again.
Excellent. Sindel, once again, thanks for joining us. Very much appreciated. We are very pleased to have you here, and thanks for taking the hour to spend with us today.
I thought it was 2 hours, so I was a little surprised.
No, we try to keep these to about an hour or so. In fact, we have another Q&A coming up here at 1800 that we got to get queued up for here. So
I saw that you're with Allie, right?
That's correct. Allie Harris will be joining us then. So.
She's coming to my dinner.
Oh, awesome! That's great.
Yes, I know, but you're not, because you have an entourage, and you have to go to the real dinner.
I know, all of the muckety mucks have got to give our, space person business cards to each other and pretend to be important at the real charity dinner.
Yeah,
the real charity dinner.
Somebody at the charity dinner that I can convince that the war deck mechanics are seriously broken and need an overhaul.
I don't think that's going to happen in 3 hours. That's not a discussion that could be had over, mink whale and red wine. But good luck.
Well, thank you.
By the way, Sindel, we have requests for you to sing.
No. The one time that I sang live on comms was because No Holes Barred helped me find the wormhole that I was looking for, and they said that in order for me to get in and get out of the wormhole safely, I would have to sing. So I did. But honestly, the reason why I do it, and, from the comfort of my computer and not out live in front of people, is because I'm surprisingly shy and very self-conscious. So doing it in front of people, even if it's just through a headset, makes me very queasy.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to make you sing. I know that's putting you on the spot, but where can people go to get information about the Angel Project and also about get access to your music?
You can go to my blog, which is sindelsuniverse.com, and on the media page there are embedded SoundCloud players, and that'll take you straight to the SoundCloud page itself. And if information about the Angel Project, there is a page for the Angel Project, and you can also join the in-game channel, which is creatively named the Angel Project. Then there's always somebody in there to answer questions, and it gives you names of people that you can send mails to, and if you want to volunteer to be a hauler or a mentor, then you're welcome to sit in there as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate, once again, the time you spent with us today. We do love to hear from people who've had different kinds of experiences in EVE Online, and thank you for being part of this.
Thank you very much for having me. You guys are a lot of fun.
Also, keep in mind that you're always welcome to hang out with us on the EVE University Standard Mumble. I don't know if you've created a forum account on the EVE University forums yet.
I have.
Excellent. Then you should be able to get on the Standard Mumble without a problem.
Neat. No, thank you guys. Stop thanking me in channels, and please don't thank me. I'm very honored to be here. Anytime somebody actually cares about what I have to say, it surprises me, and I love talking to them.
Folks, we will be posting this recording on the EVE University Wiki and the class library, so take a look there. It should be there in the next day or two, and feel free to share that. Once again, this is one of a series of different interviews and Q&As that we like to do with prominent EVE personalities to give you a different idea of different flavors of ways to play the game. So once again, finally, I want to say thank you, Sindel. Thanks also, Seamus, for your help with the administration today. Very much appreciated. And with that, we're going to say thanks, good luck, and fly safe, everybody.
Bye, everyone.